Bring back rock.
Hey, it's Dean. Welcome to Bring Back Rock. Today we're talking about Steeler. A few months ago in my Keel video, I mentioned there was a Steeler video forthcoming. Being a man of my word, here we are. Before we get going though, I just want to say thanks to you guys. My last video was the most popular one we've had, and we gained a lot of subscribers. It was remarkable, so I'm remarking and saying it was very cool, and thank you. I also want to say thanks to Ron Keel. When I was doing this video, I had a question on Steeler, and he got back to me right away. He was also kind enough to watch the Keel episode and was very complimentary, and just want to say thanks. It was very cool. Next, I do know there is another band called Steeler from Germany that was active about the same time that featured guitarist Axel Rudi Pell. But this is obviously the Steeler that featured Ron Keel on vocals and Yngwie Malmsteen on guitar. I'm not going to waste any more of your time here. I just want to say one more thing. A lot of the information I got, some of the stories were from Ron's book, Even Keel. If you're a fan of Ron Keel, of the band Keel, or even of that Sunset Strip scene from back in the day, I recommend getting that book. It was a fun read. All right, here we go. Let's talk about Steeler. Before we jump right in to Steeler, I need to go back a couple bands and tell you about something that influenced Ron and led to Steeler. The first one influenced him. Before Steeler, he was in a band called Taboo. Now, Taboo wasn't really a hard rock band, but that's not important. What's important is that one day they were practicing, and the keyboardist on his Hammond B3 organ started missing notes. Now, he was really good, didn't really miss a lot of notes. They looked over at him. He had a blank look on his face, swayed, fell forward into his keyboard, and died. Died of a congenital issue he knew nothing about. The lesson Ron took away from this was that you sing every note, every song, whether it's rehearsal, whether it's in studio, whether it's in front of a crowd, you sing every note like it's your last one because it just might be. Always give it 100%. The next band he's in was Lust, which was more of a t-shirt and jeans type of rock band. There's another band in town called Sniper, who was more theatrical, put a lot of time and effort into their stage performance and their clothes and everything else. Kind of more what Ron wanted to do. Well, being two hard rock bands and a sea of country bands in Nashville, they kind of became friends, started hanging out. One day, Ron and Bruce, the singer from Sniper, go to the show to see the mighty Van Halen. Both of them were absolutely blown away by David Lee Roth. Ron says he was the best front man he ever saw. Now, this is just me talking. I will die on this hill. I think David Lee Roth, if there's anybody ever born to be in the spotlight, it was David Lee Roth. Okay, back to the story. Seeing Dave and Van Halen affected them both in different ways. Completely opposite ways. Ron was inspired and excited to move his game to the next level, while Bruce was dejected, telling Ron, "I'm never going to get there. I'm going to quit the band." To which Ron responded, "Can I have him?" That's kind of what happened. Not long after that, Ron was joining Sniper, they changed name, and Steeler was born. The guitarist for Steeler, Mike Dunnigan, came from a wealthy family, and his father decided he wanted to do everything he could to support Steeler and make sure they succeed. Ron was convinced that they needed to move the band to LA in order to succeed, and now they had the money to do it. Their first gig in LA was to exactly one person. Yet, because of the lesson he learned in Taboo to give it all you got, they put on a hell of a show, everything lights, fog, playing like they were headlining an arena. Well, it paid off because that lone audience member was Joe Benson, who hosted a radio show of local music on KLOS. They talked, exchanged a press kit after the show, and a few weeks later they heard themselves on LA radio for the first time. Eventually the band scraped up enough money and recorded their own 45, Cold Day in Hell. Now, Brian Slagle was a huge fan of the scene and was getting to work putting together a compilation of unsigned bands for this compilation. He wanted Steeler's Cold Day in Hell on there, and Ron agreed if, A, it was the first track on the album, so if you drop the needle or pop the cassette in, it was the first thing you heard. 2, it was only going to be on the first printing because it was a way just for him to control the music. Now, he says, great idea to have it the first track, horrible idea to have it pulled from probably the most influential, it was just a groundbreaking compilation. It was the first time people heard, well, Steeler, Black and Blue, Rat, Bitch, Metallica, Malice and More's groundbreaking release. The band at that time was Ron Keel on vocals, Mike Dunnigan on guitar, Robert Eva on drums, and Tim Morrison on bass. Now, Steeler ended up breaking up around the holidays, and everyone home for Christmas except for Ron. And Ron got together, replacing the band. Mike Varney had offered Ron Keel a deal on Shrapnel Records, but wasn't sold on the guitarist. He offered him a deal if he added a guitarist he approved of. Ron went to the house. They listened to a ton of tapes, lots of great technical players, but nobody that blew him away until he heard a kid from Sweden playing, Yngwie Malmsteen. Now, he had grabbed Rik Fox, kind of a legend on the Sunset Strip. He was on bass. Mark Edwards was tapped the drums, and Yngwie was flown to the U.S. to take over guitar. Now, Ron was committed to making it no matter what, and this was his baby. He felt any guitarist coming into this situation was coming into a band that was already an established headliner on the scene and had a record deal in place. Now, Yngwie is kind of like Ron, that he wants to control his music also, so they kind of butted heads a bit. Rehearsals did not go well. They went so poorly, in fact, that Ron told Yngwie it wasn't working out. For 3 days, Yngwie sat there while the band auditioned other guitarists. After the third day, Yngwie told Ron, "I know what you want." They had a practice that absolutely killed. Magical practice, he says. It was amazing, and Yngwie was now officially, he's the guitarist. No more auditions. Although, according to Ron, no more magical rehearsals either. Now, Yngwie says he was only in the band for a short time of his career, which is true, and Ron confirms, sounds like it was about 4 months, maybe 12 shows in the recording of the album. Now, Yngwie was a huge Ritchie Blackmore fan, and he got a call from Graham Bonnet, who had played with Ritchie in Rainbow. Ron says even if they got along great and they compromised and everything was going well, he still probably would have felt that pull to go to Graham Bonnet's band to start Alcatraz, since he had played with Ritchie, etc. So the album lineup was Rik Fox on bass, Yngwie Malmsteen on guitar, Ron Keel on vocals, and Mark Edwards on drums. The album came out in Shrapnel Records in 1983, one of the best-selling indie releases, influential and important for introducing the world to Ron Keel and Yngwie Malmsteen, kind of a little time capsule of awesomeness and foreshadowing. By the time it came out, Ron Keel was the only member left in the band. Bobby Marks replaced Mark Edwards, and he would later go on to drum on Keel's debut album, Lay Down the Law. Greg Chasin came in on bass, and he later played in Badlands. He's also the brother of Kenny Chasin, who would join Keel later on, and Kurt James was on guitar. Eventually the band broke up, and Ron Keel was offered the same deal from Shrapnel for his new band Keel as he had for Steeler. And that is kind of where the Steeler story ends and the Keel story starts. So if you want to continue the story, go check out my Keel episode. Now, Rik Fox, he kind of played with everyone. He's kind of a legend of the scene. He never really reached stardom himself. Probably came closest with Sin, Steeler, and Wasp. Mark Edwards formed the band Lion with Doug Aldrich. Their most successful song was probably the Transformers theme from the 1986 movie. He got in a motorcycle accident in 1989, killing his drumming career. He went on to become the rocker of Wall Street, making a fortune and jet-setting around the world like Private Jet's fortune. Still a rocker through and through, though. Mike Dunnigan continued playing and eventually opened a record store. He and Ron Keel kind of patched things up and are friendly. They recently released Come Hell or Hollywood in 2020, featuring songs from his time in Steeler. Robert Eva is in the music biz promoting shows. Tim Morrison became an insurance salesman. Yngwie left Graham Bonnet and Alcatraz to have a long, successful solo career, obviously a legendary guitar player. And Ron Keel formed Keel, who if you're watching this, you no doubt are familiar with. He also played in Saber Tiger. He went through a country phase as Ronnie Lee Keel and with the Rattlers, Iron Horse, the Ron Keel Band. He's also in a band called Fair Game, where he was the lone male and there was female musicians around him. Just long, great career. All right, so I'm going to play you some samples from Steeler, and I will catch up with you at the end of the video. Alright, so that was a bit about Steeler. I wanted to mention their discography. They have 3 records. Obviously, the self-titled debut album on Shrapnel. Then they had one called American Metal that is now out of print. It had a lot of, it kind of encompassed the whole era of the band, all eras of the band. Demos, live stuff, things like that. And then Come Hell or Hollywood recently came out in 2020. That featured stuff from the original band prior to the debut release. Another compilation thing, there's some overlap between American Metal and that one. American Metal's out of print. You can still get Come Hell or Hollywood. That's on FNA Records. And Shrapnel Records is still selling the Steeler debut. You can find those anywhere you get your CDs. Streaming, you can find the debut album and Come Hell or Hollywood streaming, if that's how you get your music. Alright, that's it. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next episode.